Welcome to the VEROSCOPE Forensic Linguistic Analysis today of Brian Higgins, who we are continuing the analysis of in the cross-examination by Alan Jackson in the Karen Read trial. Yesterday, if you've seen that video, we looked at the various attempts by Higgins to minimize the romance. Jackson was trying to pin him down to was he attempting to have a romantic relationship with Karen Read. And on the fifth attempt, eventually we had the admission that he was sexually attracted to Karen Read. We had a final yes. And then eventually Higgins admits that it is possible that there could have been a romantic relationship. I would imagine within sufficient time. So that's where we got to. And then we looked at the binary memory pattern where he had perfect memory recall where it was safe, and of course complete amnesia where it was threatening. So we went through that. And this is where we got up to part 4, the UMMMMM analysis. If you're new to the case, this is Brian Higgins. He's a he's an agent in the alcohol, tobacco and firearms in the USA. And this is Karen Read and John O'Keefe, who is the Boston police officer who was found killed on the front lawn of Brian Albert, a fellow Boston police officer. And to his left there is Karen Read, who was accused of the murder of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, and faced 2 trials for the murder. Eventually, she was found guilty of drink driving or drinking under the influence of alcohol in her second trial, but was found not guilty of the other charges. So let's carry on with Brian Higgins and listen to what he has to say. We're going to listen for a few minutes and then we'll go back to the analysis and see how far we can get today.
You'd been drinking since about what time? What time? That's a bad way to ask it. What time did you start drinking?
When are we at, Mr.?
I'm sorry, on the 28th, when you got back from New York. When did you start drinking?
Well, it wasn't until I swapped out vehicles and I went up to the hillside.
Okay. That would have been, give me a time frame. 9-ish, 8-ish?
It was dark. It was maybe in the area of 8 o'clock.
And what time do you think you got to Waterfall?
I couldn't say. It was after the hillside.
So all of the witnesses have been coached in complete avoidance of any timeline. Have you noticed that? They all have the same strategy and tactic of refusal to be pinned down to any timeline wherever possible. And this is a group strategy amongst the witnesses.
Before Brian Albert left Hillside, did he tell you that John O'Keefe had been invited over to meet them at the Waterfall?
No.
Was there any particular reason why you changed your mind and left the Hillside to go to the Waterfall?
Well, I think, as I previously testified, that it was because I didn't always take them up on their offer, and I usually did the Irish exit, and I decided.
So the Irish exit, we'll cover that in more detail, but are you picking up the deception markers? If you're new to VEROSCOPE, most days we do a forensic linguistic analysis of part of the transcript in a trial. And using FBI style behavioral analysis unit statement analysis, we find where the person is being deceptive through changes in pronoun use or tense, or their priority, and the order in which they wish to convey information, what they don't say, because most lies, of course, are through omission, aren't they? It's leaving out the parts that you don't want to talk about, but keeping the rest of it true. So these patterns reveal themselves in their language, and we analyze using statement analysis skills, forensic linguistic intelligence skills, and we locate the deception markers. And if we were marking up the statement in a document, we would use colors and flag markers to pinpoint where we see the deceptions. So mentally, unless you have the transcript, put in the flags where you hear deception.
Because of the weather and everything else, and it had been a
And if you're a member of the VEROSCOPE channel and you're seeing wonderful deception markers, do put them in the comments.
long day, that I would go down there and join them.
Didn't have anything to do with you knowing that Karen Reed might be at the waterfall.
It couldn't have, because I didn't know she or John O'Keefe would even be there. I didn't know who was going to be there other than Brian's wife.
Do you have any text messages with Brian about going to the waterfall?
I don't recall. He told me about it at the hillside.
And once he got to the waterfall obviously before you did.
He did, I think shortly before, yes.
Any text communications between you and Brian Albert about who was at the waterfall or who was expected to come to the waterfall?
No, not that I recall.
Now,
so there's a constant use of hedging language and that get out of jail free card that I don't recall, just in case you produce the evidence, which I don't think you'll be able to because I've destroyed my phone or thrown my phone away in a secure environment. I think that's what Higgins did in the end, isn't it? But he still uses the hedge just in case. You know, was it in the cloud somewhere? Have the defense got it? So they use the hedging language, but they won't give you anything unless you can produce the evidence.
you've already indicated, and I don't think we need to go into a lot of detail about this, but I want to ask you just in general, the mood at the waterfall was good spirits, correct?
It was great. Band was playing.
You did not see any sort of tension between John and
By the way, Jameson is not a good spirit.
Karen?
I did not.
Nobody seemed overly intoxicated.
No.
I mean, you had several drinks before you even got to the waterfall, right?
I think it was 3 to 4.
Did you drink additionally at the waterfall?
I did, yes.
Did you drink whiskey or beer or what?
Whiskey.
Okay. How many do you think you had?
I couldn't put a number on it. At least a couple.
And ultimately,
So he's refusing the romance. He's refusing the sexual attraction. He's minimizing the intoxication, because all of these things lead towards the violence from jealousy and rage. So anything that leads in that direction, he strategically minimizes because he's fully aware what Alan Jackson is doing. So they're in a battle of wills. They're in a battle of wits. Higgins is desperately keeping away from the sex, romance, and rage and jealousy, and Jackson's trying to lead him there.
you left from there in your personal vehicle and drove over to, that's the Jeep, drove
The Jeep,
over to
yes.
the waterfall, correct?
I drove over to the waterfall.
I'm sorry.
I was at the waterfall.
Left the waterfall, drove over to 34 Fairview.
I did, yes.
When John walked in to the waterfall, were you already there?
Yes.
He greeted you, you indicated, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Karen walked in with him,
Yes.
but she did not greet you, did she?
I think they kind of went like that in different directions.
Right.
Yes.
Did she greet you?
No.
Right. So she walked over toward the...
So avoiding the question and answering a different question are deceptive markers in their own rights. In go the flags. Did you spot those? I hope you did, because if you did, it means you're getting good. You're getting at conversational speed. Spotting the question not being answered, the deflective question being answered, in go the two deceptive flags. It's a very common technique, especially with politicians. They will very often employ that deceptive marker.
corner of the bar, and John came over and greeted you, and then walked over and joined her, correct?
Yes.
Karen didn't stop what she was doing once she was over in the corner of the bar and come over and say hi to you.
I didn't have any interaction with her that night, no.
So safe to say that throughout that evening, once she was sidled up next to John O'Keefe or the friends that she was with, she never turned back around and came over and even acknowledged you, correct?
That's correct.
So she basically ignored you the entire evening.
Completely blanked you.
That's not how I interpret it, no.
I didn't ask you how you interpreted it. I asked you what she did. Did she ignore you or did she pay attention to you?
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that. Did she ignore you?
No.
So she paid attention to you. Came over and said hello, shook your hand, gave you a hug.
Well, just because somebody didn't come over doesn't mean they ignored you.
Did she do those three things?
Hug? What was the other
Did she
thing?
say hello, shake your hand, give you a hug?
No,
Hey, it's a hug for the Huggy Bear or the Higgy Bear.
she did not.
No, she didn't do any of those things, did she?
No.
It was like you didn't even exist.
I think that's dramatic. No, I don't look at it that way.
Did she ignore you or not?
No, she did not ignore me.
So what did she do to not ignore you?
She was
What's her interaction with you?
Can I answer now?
Sure.
In my opinion, she was working the room, talking to people, saying hello, catching up.
Right. The one person she didn't come over to talk to and say hello to and catch up with is you.
Well, I don't know that I was the only person, but I was one of the people that she didn't say hello to, yes.
Okay, so he's desperate for Alan Jackson not to succeed in identifying the fact that Higgins was blanked, ignored. Can you imagine how he was feeling? His emotions in his drunken rage got the better of him. You saw them in that black and white video in the waterfall, didn't you? That aggression, that calling John outside to fight. Why John went back to 34 Fairview, I do not know. It was obviously an aggressive environment.
It's sort of like a stranger.
I don't feel that way, no.
She actually positioned herself away from you at the other end of the table on the opposite side in the corner. Isn't that right?
I don't know where she was all night, no. I don't know.
Did that upset you that she ignored you or didn't pay attention to you?
I did not feel ignored and didn't upset me at all.
But it bothered you enough to send her a text, didn't it?
Are you seeing the deception markers? Do put them in the comments.
No, it was a flirtatious text. It was just, that was it.
It bothered you enough to send her a text.
You see, when we hear that pattern, it was just, and then the self-censorship, that was it, that's so common. So they can't finish their sentence, and then they put the full stop on the sentence with the words, that was it, as if that's the end of the discussion. Very common.
It said, with 6 M's behind it.
Okay.
And, well, correct?
Well, it wasn't like that. It was, well, that's it.
Just, well, like a...
Well, that's it. He doesn't want this to be explored. That's it. That's it. So he's using this tactic now. The that's it close down.
well in the ground.
I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you do too, sir. You meant, well, when are you going to pay attention to me?
No, that's not correct.
Well, why are you ignoring me?
It's not correct.
Well, am I chopped liver?
Objection.
All right, that's sustained. Mr. Jackson, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. We can't have the truth coming out, can we? The beautiful Judge Canoni.
At the end of the night, the group basically discussed going back to Brian Albert's house. Is that right?
There was discussion at the table of, like, were we going to go to the pizza shop or were we going to go somewhere else? And ultimately, it was 34 Fairview.
Before you left, just so we're clear, when you texted, well, she ignored that text too, didn't she?
Can you say that again?
When you texted her, well, at Waterfall, she ignored that text too, correct?
Well, that was the only text I sent that night to her, yes.
Okay.
She didn't respond.
That wasn't my question.
What?
My question is she ignored the text, correct?
Well, I don't know if she, I don't know what her mindset was. If she purposely ignored the text or she didn't see it, I don't know. I didn't read into it.
Did she ignore the text, Mr. Higgins?
I don't know.
Did she respond to the text?
She did not respond.
Got it.
Okay, so we've got huge defensiveness on the semantics. So in go the deceptive markers.
So when everybody was leaving, did you leave before they did, John and Karen, or did they leave before you did?
I don't know.
You said you were the first one back to Brian Albert.
The witnesses also have another strategy. They not only refuse timeline pin downs, but they also refuse who left first and who left in what order tie downs. All of that is amnesia by all of them.
House, correct?
Yes,
Safe to say you were one of the first ones to leave.
I was the first one to leave
Waterfall.
the waterfall. Probably.
I mean, if you're the, if everybody's herding out and you're the first one to get there, you're probably among the first to leave, correct?
Most likely.
Okay. You never personally discussed going to 34 Fairview with, certainly not with Karen Reed, did you?
No.
And you never discussed it with John O'Keefe either, did you?
No.
You didn't say goodbye or walk over and give John a big hug or anything like that? An
No.
acknowledgement, did you?
No.
You just left.
Well, that's what everybody was doing, just leaving.
Okay. You too, correct?
I did leave, yes.
And all you knew that, at that point, all you knew was that you were going over to 34 Fairview. You did not know who else was invited over to 34 Fairview.
My impression was that it was an open invitation, and I planned on heading over there.
But you did not know who else was coming.
I had no idea who was coming.
And you didn't say goodbye to John, correct?
I don't think I said goodbye to anybody.
And you didn't talk to him about coming over to 34 Fairview.
No.
Yet at 2:20 in the morning, you texted John O'Keefe, you coming here, correct?
At 2:20?
Sorry, 12:20.
I did.
Okay, let's have a look at the analysis. So, the well text analysis. After Karen Reed stops responding to Higgins' text for 6 days, don't forget, she's completely blanked him. And he's been pushing for the real deal. He's become a bit of a pain in the neck. Since their kiss, he's been chasing and pursuing, and he's become obsessed. Karen then walks into the Waterfall Bar. Higgins has had a skinful. He's drunk. He's minimizing the amount of drinking that he's done, when he started drinking, and exactly how many whiskies he's had. Jameson and Ginger. The defense attorney characterizes it as containing 6 M's, a detail Higgins doesn't dispute, and this reveals extreme emotional intensity. Think about it. That's quite a lot of M's to write after the well. He's pushing. He's being ignored. He's being completely blanked. He's been ghosted. He's drunk. John's there. Karen's there. He's been obsessing over it for days. Let's go back a little bit. Karen initiates the text contact with Higgins. And then there was that 6 days of complete silence. The 6 M's of emotional intensity. So, Alan Jackson says, but it bothered you enough to send her a text that said with 6 M's behind it and well, correct? Higgins says, well, it wasn't like that. It was well. So here Higgins attempts to say that it wasn't like this, but it was. The defense attorney characterizes the text as containing 6 M's. Well. Higgins confirms the text was well, but disputes the characterization of its meaning. Notably, he does not dispute the number of M's, only the interpretation. He's arguing over the semantics and the meaning. The normal usage is brief pause in speech, mild hesitation. 6 M's, extended vocalized frustration. This was what he was trying to communicate to Karen. Why the extra letters matter. The written text doesn't require the extended letters. Typing instead of is deliberate emphasis. So Higgins is trying to minimize and Jackson is pointing out the truth. Each additional M increases the intensity of the emotion being expressed. And 6 M's, that's extreme discomfort. That's frustration or anger. That's getting on the edge of, well. Do you see? The word well signals contrary to expectation. It precedes complaint or expression of dissatisfaction. Means this is not what I thought would happen. And the combined meaning, what he was trying to communicate, is I am extremely frustrated that this is not what I expected. After pursuing you for weeks, you ghost me for 6 days, then walk in here with him and ignore me completely. Really? This is what he's trying to communicate, in my eyes. Higgins' defense of the text. Higgins says, it was, so notice this is sensitive, where we see the phrase repeated, we have slight self-censorship pause here as he decides how best to answer the question. And so the need for this self-censorship pause can indicate deception. And so we put in the deception flag. But it doesn't necessarily mean as individual flags that it is, but because it sometimes does, we put in the flags. And then when we look at a text document that's been marked up and it's full of deception markers, then we can begin to think and ask, is this statement deceptive? So that's the point of identifying the areas where where deception is very common, and we mark them even though it isn't always deception. So it was a flirtatious text, and then he wants to end it. That was it. Deduction 8. We have the triple minimization in one sentence. It was, the self-censorship, stuttering, slight cognitive overload. Flirtatious, neutralizing the emotional content by labeling it in that more harmless way. This is more just some flirtatious fun together. This isn't his obsession and jealousy and rage. Minimization phrase, it was just. Did you notice that? That is further away. And the minimization was it. Why this matters. When someone uses 3 separate minimization techniques in one sentence to explain a harmless flirtatious text, they're not describing what it was. They're desperately trying to hide what it actually was. He's, throughout this entire testimony, tried minimizing, hiding, and often hiding behind semantics and getting blood out of a stone. The timing problem. If this was truly just flirtatious, why send it at that exact moment? Not during the 6-day silence, not when she was alone, only when she walks in with her boyfriend after ignoring him. Well, ? She's with her boyfriend. He's acting like a jealous, drunk teenager. Forensic conclusion. The defense's characterization of the 6 M's, which Higgins did not challenge, represents genuine emotional intensity, frustration, rage, anger, annoyance. His defensive triple minimization confirms this. If it was truly innocent, one explanation would suffice. He breaks all sorts of rules to do with the economy of language. The desperation to minimize it reveals its significance. Okay, the real deal. This is what Higgy Bear wanted. What do you want from me? I want the real deal. I want the real deal. It doesn't exist. Karen told him. It doesn't exist between us. No. He's been rejected. And worse for Higgins, he's been rejected for John. You know? John was the real deal. Higgins was the pawn in Karen's game. Cross-examination. The real deal was what? What did you mean by I want the real deal? And Higgins says, like a relationship. Oh dear. So he can't commit to it. He still has to minimize. Not a relationship, not the real deal. Sort of like a relationship. That's not a relationship and the real deal, is it, Higgins? If you're on a dating site and you wanted to analyze your date's language and you saw he wants the real deal like a relationship, I would advise don't go on date number 3 or 4 or 2. So, what kind of relationship? A buddy-buddy relationship? You just want to go like a romantic relationship, Mr. Higgins? A romantic relationship, Mr. Higgins. It's possible, right? It's what he really wanted. He really, really wanted. So, and he's emotional, isn't he? He wears it on his sleeve. He thinks we can't see. But he was prepared to put Karen in jail for the rest of her life. Let's not forget that. That's what he's prepared to do. The possible escape hatch was real deal about romantic relationship. These are yeses and nos. It's possible, right? Why this is evasion? He wrote, I want the real deal. He knows exactly what he meant. The attorney forces him to explain. He's constantly avoiding, but he says it's possible. The romance, the real deal, is possible in Higgins's mind. Right at the end, that was interesting, wasn't it? He put the right at the end, seeking agreement and validation. A lack of confidence, a lack of self-esteem in many ways with regards to women. Context. After weeks of texting, asking what do you want from me, saying I want the real deal, being told it doesn't exist, everyone understands what the real deal meant in this context. He's been rejected. His refusal to directly confirm it was romantic reveals he's minimizing the intensity of his pursuit, and his anger, frustration, annoyance, and obsession over being rejected by Karen in favor of John. And then we have the Waterfall Bar confrontation, the setup. After 6 days of silence following Karen's with talking no text, both Higgins and Karen and John end up at the Waterfall Bar on the night of January 28, 2022. John walked into the Waterfall Bar. Were you already there? Yes. He greeted you? He indicated correct? Yes, I believe so. Karen walked in with him? Yes. But she did not greet you, did she? I think they kind of went like that in different directions, right? Remember that? He was asked, but she did not greet you, did she? And look at what Higgins does. I think, so here he removes full responsibility for his deception. They kind of, so we've got the double here. I think they kind of. Remember this pattern? For those who have been following VEROSCOPE for a while, you're probably thinking, wow, it's just so common. And you see, once you know, it's a bit like the Matrix, the red pill and the blue pill. Once you know how to spot deception and you go back on previous communications where you have been deceived, and it's all there. It's all there. I think they kind of went like that in different directions, right? The question was, she did not greet you, did she? And look at this answer. It's absolute codswallop. Higgins, yes. Did she greet you? No. Sorry about the transcript error there. The ignored question, defense attorney. Throughout that evening, once she was settled up next to John O'Keefe, or the friend she was with, she never turned back around and came over, or even acknowledged you, correct? That's correct. So she basically ignored you the entire evening. That's not how I interpret it, no. So he's refusing to allow into his testimony the fact that he's being ignored because it would lend itself to his emotional feelings of anger, frustration, upset, self-pity, drunken rage, all sorts. Enough that it ended up how it ended up. The awful tragedy, as Higgins has explained to us, tragedies have happened. When facts are damaging, shift to interpretation. Did you notice this pattern from Higgins? So John greeted him, Karen did not. They went in different directions. Karen never came over during the entire evening. Karen never acknowledged him. The question, so she basically ignored you. Response, that's not how I interpret it. So he uses interpretation to replace facts. And this is a deceptive marker. When the person is gaslighting you, they will often use, that's not how I interpret, to, rather than, because they can't challenge the actual facts, so they then use this gaslighting technique. Can you see that? Why this matters? He's being asked about behavior, what she did, but answers with interpretation, how he sees it. This is a deflection tactic. The facts are she didn't greet him, she didn't come over, she didn't acknowledge him. That is being ignored. His refusal to admit it reveals acute sensitivity to acknowledging this rejection. And then we have the not upset denial. Alan Jackson says, did it upset you that she ignored you or didn't pay attention to you? Higgins says, I did not feel ignored and it didn't upset me at all. So notice this at all. Is this necessary language? He's using feelings. Do you see again? But it bothered you enough to send her a text, didn't it? Well, no. It was a flirtatious text. It was just that, was it? Which we've already covered. So, the at all. Do you remember that? We just covered it here. It's an overstatement. It didn't upset me at all. At all, it's significant. So we look out for these sorts of unnecessary overstatements. At all is absolute language. Zero upset, zero emotion, complete indifference. So he's selling us that the at all is needed and is absolute, and I don't believe it. This appears twice about Karen never expressing anger at John, not at all, and about being upset at all. Absolute denials often covering absolute truth. The logic problem. If it didn't upset him at all, if it was just flirtatious, then why send it at that exact moment with those 6 M's? Then why the defensive triple minimization when explaining it? And then why send the text with the emotional intensity? The behavioral evidence. The text was sent after 6 days of being ignored, watching her walk in with John, being ignored all evening, and seeing her positioned away, her position on purpose, no doubt. Forensic conclusion. The not at all is an overstatement, suggesting the opposite is true. He was upset. The timing, the emotional intensity of the text, characterized by defense of 6 M's, undisputed by Higgins, and the defensive minimization, all confirm this. His absolute denial reveals his absolute emotion. Isn't that interesting? By being so in denial, he shows us the truth. So the central finding from this cross-examination, and don't forget, look how little of the cross-examination we've examined so far and how much intelligence we're finding. I suspect as we go through his entire cross-examination, we will find hundreds of deception markers. We can forensically reconstruct. Higgins pursued Karen romantically for weeks. He wanted the real deal, the relationship, the romance. She rejected him. It doesn't exist. She ghosted him for 6 days. She ignores him completely at the waterfall. A complete blank, back turned. He's drunk. He experienced emotional reaction and texted, well, and he's now minimizing all of this. If you haven't seen yesterday's video, do go back. I put it into a playlist. I think there's 4 videos in the playlist so far. So that's how much we've done of Brian Higgins' cross-examination with Alan Jackson. I would imagine there's about another 5 to go. Do subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell if you can, if you want to see when those are released. So the 5 attempt admission, the extreme resistance to the simple truth that he is sexually attracted to Karen Read. We have that binary memory pattern, that perfect recall where it's safe versus strategic amnesia where it's not. We have inappropriate language, vet it out. We have hedge words, I wouldn't say, I don't think so, I think it's possible. We have minimization language, the just, that, was it, etc. We have semantic gymnastics, creating undefined categories and false distinctions. Very common trick from the gaslighters and the deceptive and the liars. The semantic gymnastics. We have deflection tactics, answering different questions than asked. We have overstatement, not at all, appearing twice. We have emotional markers, text characterized with 6 M's by the defense is undisputed. And we have the interpretation shield, which he constantly raises to Alan Jackson to parry the thrusts of the spear, shifting from facts to interpretations. He's constantly using his sword and shield to battle Alan Jackson, all of which show deception in the statement. The impossibilities. These linguistic patterns create behavioral impossibilities, things that cannot authentically coexist. You cannot require 5 attempts to admit a simple attraction if the attraction was truly simple. Why? Innocent admission is a direct answer. 5 attempts from Alan Jackson to get the truth means you're concealing something larger. And then you finally admit the truth, and these are mutually exclusive. Innocent admission is a direct answer. This attempt to conceal is concealing something larger. I wonder what it's concealing. You cannot have perfect memory of safe details and zero memory of threatening details if memory loss is organic. Organic memory is random scatter. Strategic memory is targeted protection. This is such a common technique of the liars, and where we see it, and we see it very strongly in all of the witnesses in the Karen Read trials. This pattern proves consciousness of deception. Impossibility 3. You cannot send a text with extreme emotional markers, the 6 M's, to express mild flirtation. Why? Flirtation is light and playful. Its extended emotional markers equals intense frustration. This isn't light and playful. The well, that's annoying. The defence's characterization of 6 M's went unchallenged by Higgins. Only the interpretation was disputed. And then we saw that triple minimization later, concealing the genuine emotion. Impossibility 4, you cannot be not upset at all and then send an emotionally charged text at the exact moment of rejection. Why? Indifference is no action. Emotion is action. And the timing from Higgins himself proves the emotion that he's lying about. And then we have impossibility 5. You cannot minimize what you claim was already minimal. If it was truly just flirtatious, there's no need for all this exhausting minimization and challenge on the semantics about everything. This excessive minimization reveals it was not minimal. So what this all reveals is, from the linguistic evidence alone, we can conclude, and this is my opinion, Brian Higgins' testimony contains 10 distinct deception markers just in this small section that creates a pattern of conscious concealment. His interest in Karen Read was not casual attraction, but sustained romantic pursuit that included weeks of text communication, explicit statements of wanting the real deal, repeated attempts to determine her interest, and emotional investment requiring vetting out. And when rejected, it doesn't exist, he was told. This is categoric. And ghosted straight after being categorically told, he experienced genuine, jealous emotion evidenced by the 6 M's of emotional intensity in the text. The text is sent at the exact moment of seeing her with her boyfriend. The triple minimization when explaining it later, and the overstatement of indifference with the not at all. He is now actively minimizing the intensity of both his pursuit and his emotional response because acknowledging the truth would create motive. Jealous rage over romantic rejection. Drunk, jealous rage. We saw them in the waterfall, didn't we? We've all seen that sort of body language outside. The pointing, the being held back. It also reveals opportunity, present at location where the victim died. And it reveals consciousness of guilt. Why minimize if innocent? And we've only analyzed what? 7 or 8 minutes worth of cross-examination. When we put all of this together, by the way, when we put each of these VEROSCOPE reports of Higgins's cross-examination together and then cross-correlate with other data, we're going to be discovering, I think, undisputable evidence. The 5 attempt admission pattern alone proves the truth is worse than what was asked. This is the problem. The truth is worse than what was asked. Someone with simple attraction answers once. Someone concealing obsession requires 5 attempts even to admit sexual attraction. So that brings us to the end of today's VEROSCOPE. If you enjoyed today, please do like the video and please do subscribe. For those who already have, it's probably annoying, isn't it, when you hear me say do subscribe at the end, but you'll be amazed. Each time I do, more people subscribe. And each time I don't, less people subscribe. So if you're on the fence, hit the subscribe button. It will really help the channel increase the reach of these types of analysis. And who knows, it might even help someone who is being deceived, and perhaps they'll see some of the VEROSCOPE videos and go, huh, I'm being deceived. And that can only be helpful. Okay, fingers crossed, and I look forward to chat with you in the comments.